And now, the thrilling conclusion of Fort Fritz season. All right, turn this shit off. Okay, that's enough TV. I mean, I don't want to watch TV with me on it that much.
Really,
you think?
you?
I know.
No,
even me can't watch that
on.
much me,
Let's
and that's. I'm a big fan of me.
You TiVoed it.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, but everything's going crazy now. I can't follow the
TiVo.
TiVo's still a thing.
It's still a thing.
It's the Ford. Yeah,
it
we have
is,
TiVo.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
It's an old.
That's
It's
true.
You've got the old
it's dusty
slide thing
TiVo.
for the cable.
It still works though.
Yeah, and a boxy.
It's TiVo. It makes the boop boop.
Wait, so Jason Bateman was playing me?
Yeah, Jason Bateman's playing you on Fort Fritz now. That's how weird the cable
HBO
show's got.
optioned us. But
That's cool.
I feel like that's a Felix thing. He did it on the sly. Like,
Why did they
behind our back.
misspell Fort Fritz, though?
Because of that was a whole
Frauds with an
trademark
Because
thing.
they were probably typing it on their phone,
Okay.
and maybe
More
it didn't
frauds.
come up until later.
That's true.
We've had enough TV, I mean, I think it's time for us to just, let's just be with our own thoughts for a moment.
that's probably
There's so
Wow.
many screens. We
You
look
wanna
at
sit here and
screens
deal
all
with
day
them?
long.
I'm down for this.
For screen
I
for
agree.
screen.
Right.
So just, let's just take a breather.
Some
Let's
FaceTime.
just,
We're all
I like
here.
this.
We're friends.
let's just breathe it in
Silence.
for
Okay.
just a second.
What do you guys?
Ah, I like this. Listen to the trees. It says squirrel.
This is.
What
yeah.
window are you? I don't.
This is nice.
It's probably the indoor.
Is that the
squirrel.
AC?
Yeah.
Or some type of like laboratory fan.
Wait,
Well,
what is
there's a
that?
fireplace, so I
Wait.
hope the AC's
Oh.
not on at the side of the fireplace.
Fritz.
Not going on.
You want like the mix? Though.
Okay, all right,
Stop
okay.
fidgeting.
No.
Just- what's-
This
what's fun?
sucks.
He's
Yeah,
this
yeah,
sucks.
I agree. This is boring as hell.
There's
do
got to
you
be
mean?
something
What
we
do
can
you
do,
mean?
right?
There's nothing going on. I'm not playing any game. No one's getting shot
This
on
is
TV right now.
nice.
I'm not hearing
you're,
about
You're
politics.
overstimulated.
Guys, we're getting paid for this right now.
What?
Who?
What?
You- are you getting
What?
paid?
This is a whole new deal to me. What's
I've
going on
gotten
here?
paid.
I've said too much.
You have also
have.
been paid.
we
What?
need to do something.
I
need to
knew
read
it.
We got to do something.
there's
Can
a
we like
renegotiation.
explore? Let's go. I
We
don't know.
haven't gone anywhere in so long. It feels like we just
It's
been
always a problem.
sitting here and sitting here and sitting
Can
here.
we have just one normal day where we just don't?
What is a normal day anymore?
You guys have zero banter skills. Oh my god! Like, come on.
What do you mean?
Let's
We're doing-
talk about something.
What do you want
Let's
to talk
do
about?
something.
We don't even have a
Well,
topic.
okay.
Just give me something to fucking talk about. Talk about it. Damn it, man.
Wow.
Dude, you're going to throw that skull all the way across the room like that. That's a good skull. That was a good skull.
Oh my god! Look at that.
Triggering something. Well,
the fireplace,
Indiana
dude.
Jonesian sort of swivel happening.
Check
This is
that
cool.
out.
All right.
Nice, nice.
High five, high
Up
five.
there, up
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
back on
This is why-
skate.
I'm
This
so
is-
glad that
There
you
we
know
go.
anger management skills.
Right?
That was good.
Why male rage?
What the hell is that thing?
Whoa.
It looks like a man.
Is it?
In a bean?
He's in a bean.
He's in a
This is a
Ooh.
bean
glass
man.
bean. He's in a glass bean.
He's in a glass bean.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's like trapped, sort of like
Glass
Lecter,
bean of
like
emotion.
Hannibal
It's in a
Lecter.
glass bean of emotion.
Classic glass bean encapsulation.
Almost like a pill.
Yeah, but he looks like kind of like Hannibal Lecter, sort of restrained, sort of.
Yeah, he's tied up in
So
there.
is he a human being?
Yeah, he's tied to a bed.
human
Hold on.
being.
It doesn't look like he's there like voluntarily. I
No,
think
Yeah,
his voice
yeah,
he's
yeah.
been strapped in.
disposition.
But he's like
no.
he's
Oh,
submerged
good.
and he seems to be sleeping
Can
or
we
something.
poke him with a stick or something?
I mean, he's in a
he's in a
bean.
bean.
You gotta, yeah.
Is that like a
Yeah.
We'd have to
Jacobian
get through the
rough?
bean.
What is that?
I don't know. He's dressed really queerly.
Excuse me.
Wow.
Oh.
I think he looks rather dapper.
Also,
What did
maybe
I say?
dashing even.
That's what I meant.
Kind of, it's sort of a foppish.
I like that they
maybe almost
built,
foppish.
the
maybe.
bean tall enough to accommodate the big like
That is a big
stovepipe
bean.
hat.
Yeah,
Right,
that's a
like,
big bean.
They give him the extra.
they let
extra
him
bean,
keep the
XL
hat,
bean.
which is I think is cool.
Yeah.
Headroom.
You got to have the hat. Without the hat, the whole outfit
Hold
doesn't
on,
make
let's
any
see if
sense.
there's any kind of identification on him. Checking the left side of the bean.
And
Center,
what about the right
no.
side? How's
Checking
the right side?
side. Right side of the bean.
Nothing on the
is-
right side, huh?
Bean
Wait,
is
hold
clear.
on.
Oh,
There's a nameplate. It says Jack the Ripper.
No. Are you
No.
sure- are you sure
Question marks? Or is it
Really?
like
That's
Wait.
in quotations.
No.
With two
It's not like Jack
two
T.
question
Ripper.
marks
There's two
and a quotation mark.
questions?
Says, fully, let me read it. The quotation, Jack the Ripper, and then question mark, quotation marks.
okay.
So even he is questioning his own
That
existence.
is extremely specific.
Jack the Ripper?
Oh, wait, hold on.
It's a
What's
guess.
this?
It's a big guess.
There's 3 buttons next to it here. It says, in.
That's really some dusty,
Dusty.
buttons right
Well,
there.
it's like it's
Dusty
behind a fi-
Buttons
it's
is my
behind a-
stripper name,
Hold
by
on
the
here.
way.
Button.
Enter.
You're gonna hyperventilate.
Oh my God.
Be careful,
Yeah,
man.
you're
Let-
feeling it,
Breathing
breathing
it in
in.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna get one of those duster bottles or something.
Oh, I see
You
here.
can't even read anyway.
It says interview,
See?
kill, interview, kill, or
All right, it's clear.
It's clear as hell. I can read it from over here and I'm
see it
blind.
right here.
I can read it. I'll read it.
Return to the forever-ness of the in-between.
Ooh, I like that.
So it's
Is that an early Pink
interview.
Floyd demo?
3 buttons. Interview,
Some
kill,
saucer full of secrets.
and return to the forever-ness of the in-between.
Even though I really like how that's phrased.
Yeah, that sounds pretty
It's
trippy.
really beautiful.
Yeah, let's go kill.
Yeah.
No, I
mean,
want to
kill him?
totally interview. We're bored.
It's Jack the Ripper question mark and true. That is, we are
Yeah.
bored.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I was really-
killing him would be fun, but that'd be over really quick, probably.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It'd be like, yay, and then
Yeah,
okay,
we gotta-
It's like
you know.
fireworks.
we gotta
Everybody's
elongate
like,
it
"Ah."
out.
Yeah, and then go home.
You press that button, it goes. Dun, 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 dun,
It just crumples.
So we're gonna interview him.
Yeah, hit the
Yeah.
interview button.
Okay.
Be
All right, here we go.
scientific.
Oh.
Ew.
Ugh.
Ugh, I don't know.
Oh.
It's like he's being reconstituted.
Oh, it's on my shoes. Ugh.
Oh, you got some on you. Be careful.
Oh,
Careful.
it,
That can't be
it
good.
trains out. It
This
trains out.
bean liquid is just all
Bean liquid.
Bean
over my
liquid.
feet.
God, that's a lot of bean liquid. That's
It's like a
that's
black bean.
Like what comes in a can of beans, like that kind of
Ugh.
viscous kind
Yeah,
of.
it's like really, it just comes out real
Bean-
slow.
There's more than a
mucus.
can of beans.
It's more than a
Ah,
can of
I'm
beans.
more sad that it's like not Jack and the Beanstalk, that it's like Jack the Ripper now. Now I'm all sad.
It's a different
Yeah,
kind of.
So
that's-
you'd rather have a
Jack.
giant than a serial killer?
Well, Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack wasn't the giant.
Well, let's knock on his thing here and see if
Just
he's
hit-
awake. Like,
just
hey,
knock
right
on the
here.
bean.
Just knock.
That sounds like something
Flick
else.
it. Flick it. See?
Yeah, flick the bean. Doesn't seem like it's doing anything.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
He's got a
story
smile on
of
his
my
face.
life.
He looks happy. That's what I know. He looks happy.
Give up on the first try.
Why are you waking me up now? What's this? What's all this then? What's going on
You
here?
are the bean. We'll be asking the questions.
Oh, you don't know about the bean.
Are you really the Ripper of Jacks?
I've got the plate right there on the front. that
Right.
says it.
No, it says Jack
How did you
T.
say the plate
Ripper.
Ripper? Okay, so he
Jack
made you
T.
watch.
Ripper.
Did you make that? Were you questioning yourself?
No, they were questioning me because I'm not Jack the Ripper. They made up, but that's why it has the question mark. So
Wait a
I'm not
minute.
Jack the Ripper.
Out with it, Jack the Ripper?
I'm
Question
not
mark.
Jack the Ripper. I'm a completely different
Is it?
person.
All right, look, dude.
Well, how did you end up in the bean? Right?
Well,
like
you-
exactly. Thank you.
Screw that. I want to know because obviously this guy doesn't know about the brutality and what happened with Jack the Ripper. Don't you know about the absolute horrible things that Jack the Ripper did to his victims?
He seems pretty nonchalant about the whole thing. I don't think he
No.
knows.
You ripped them?
You'd think. And yes, you're right. He did. He was a horrible. Oh, we think. We're pretty sure it's he. We're looking at him. He looks like a he. If this guy
He does
is.
look like a he.
Yeah.
Want to see my naughty bits?
No, God.
We're
get
not
away
going to
from
drain
him.
the bean all the way down to there. Like
No,
you
thank
got
you.
enough up to your head, and now you just talk to us and like, wait.
We can drown you at any
another
time.
one of those
Exactly.
bean teasers, I see.
Ugh.
Get on with it, Jack.
Now, one thing we need to know is that they say that Jack the Ripper had 5 victims. That there's 5. They say the canonical victims, which is really weird. The canonical victims. We opened for them in Tampa. So anyway, there are 5 canonical victims, but the Whitechapel murder file actually has 11 murders in it. So there's some that they're not sure if there was Jack stuff, but it was just occurred during the same time and had similar style to it. I guess it's a horrible way to describe murder. Just very stylish
Yes.
murder there.
A la mode.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Now-
same principles.
Yeah. 2 of them occurred before the first canonical murder of Mary Nichols on August 31st, 1888. And 4 of them took place after the murder of Mary Kelly on the 9th of November, 1888, which is generally agreed that he was his final victim. So all the victims had one thing in common. They were prostitutes and were known, they're middle-aged, and they're either drunk at the time or just known alcoholics. So he just liked to get after drunk prostitutes. They were just easy pickings, I guess, you know. And so the manner in which he killed his victims is where they figure out that he seemed to be involved with them. All but one of the women was killed by strangulation first. You always think
Jeez.
about the
Yeah.
the ripping, but it's the strangulation that usually kills them. Now, once laid on the ground, the Ripper would cut the victims' throats, beginning with the side facing away from him. And this effectively drained the blood from the victim before he began the final evisceration of the body.
So they knew that much about forensics back then.
This
to
dude
know
did.
that it was like police detectives, right?
Oh, okay.
Like to know that the blood was flowing out when it was. you
Yeah,
know.
they got surprisingly sophisticated when it came to, because a lot of people were getting stabbed and killed, so they just had to start figuring this stuff out. So necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So then he would, of course, do the ritual evisceration. Much of the organ removal was done cleanly. And so that's one of the reasons why they think he was a surgeon or had some sort of experience in the medical field, because he did his work fairly cleanly. Now, the 5 main canonical victims everybody knows. That everybody knows. We've all got the trading cards. Mary Ann Nichols, Ann Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, I believe Eddowes, Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Let's talk about the first one. Nichols was discovered at 3:40 a.m. on Friday, August 31st, 1888. Her throat was severed by 2 cuts, and the lower part of her abdomen was partially ripped open by a deep, jagged wound.
Jeez.
And there are several other incisions on the abdomen that were caused by the same knife. Chapman's body was discovered about 6 a.m. on Saturday, the 8th of September, 1888. Chapman's body was found with her feet pushed up towards her body, with her knees up in the air and spread apart. Her throat was cut deeply from left to right, and her tongue was swollen, and that suggested strangulation was the cause of death. And, of course, her abdomen was incised and laid open. Her intestines were removed and placed on her shoulder. A portion of her genitalia, as well as her uterus and bladder, were missing. So he was taking trophies. What he did with that, who knows? Who wants to know?
Could be anyone's guess.
There's just something, nothing good. Nothing good happened. Now, Stride and Eddowes were killed in the early morning of Saturday, 30th September, 1888. Stride's cause of death was one clear-cut incision, which severed the main artery on the left side of the neck. And there's no mutilation of the abdomen this time.
So that's the aorta?
Yeah.
Or the jugular? Yeah, the aorta's in the heart, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. Why are you even asking me?
Canis vulnicular.
Look at it, pulling out the words
dog.
in Latin and stuff. That's a dog, right?
Yeah, that's a shepherd dog.
Now, since there's no mutilation to the abdomen, they suggested that maybe that wasn't one of his victims, or maybe he was interrupted during the murder and fled, and so he wasn't able to complete his ritual. And that's why there's another body that happened a few hours later. And this time, this is Eddowes' body. She was found 3/4 of an hour after Stride's. Like the other victim.
Damn, he couldn't finish. He's like, gotta get it out.
Gotta get it out. Oh, can you imagine? Nothing's worse than getting murder blue balls. You know, just
nothing.
Murder balls?
Nothing
Murder balls.
is worse than that.
No, murder balls makes you able to murder, and then you get murder blue balls when you can't murder, and then you got to really, really murder.
Yeah,
and
you gotta really want it.
So
Manslaughter balls?
Mad slaughter balls.
Slaughter balls.
This guy, look at the slaughter balls on this guy.
Slaughter.
Dang.
Now,
Okay.
His taint, am I right?
Now, like the other victims, her throat was slit and her legs spread and her knees bent. Eddowes was splayed open from her rectum up to her sternum.
Damn.
Her entrails were spread about, intestines laid over her shoulder and under her arm.
He really took it out on her.
Her nose was cut off, and deep, violent incisions marked her eyelids and cheeks. The incision to her throat was determined as the cause of death, so this time it wasn't just a strangulation. Most of her womb and her kidneys had been removed and were missing. The way it was cut out suggested that this was like a coroner or someone that just had some experience with the human body.
Yeah, medical knowledge.
Coroner.
Just a
I
lot
thought
of
you
people
said corner, like somebody who deals with corn, and I was like, what's a corner?
with the band Corn.
Very
A corner.
husky.
These farmers are always taking our uteri.
Now, the final victim, Kelly, her mutilated and disemboweled body was discovered laying on the bed of her single room where she lived on 13 Miller's Court off of Dorset Street. And about 10:45 in the morning on Friday the 9th, November 1888. She was the most mutilated of all his victims. So this is all I was building up to this. Her face was pretty much gone. Had been slashed and stabbed repeatedly, and some features were entirely removed. Her throat was slashed so deeply and violently that even her vertebrae showed knife marks. Both of her breasts, as well as her organs and entrails, were placed in piles beneath her head and alongside her body. Slabs of flesh taken from her stomach and thighs were placed on the nightstand beside her bed. Part of her heart was missing, and there is evidence that an axe was used at the crime, along with the long, sharp knife the Ripper was known for using. So, and I could go on with the other murders and describe some more disgusting stuff too, but I think we have completely said that this guy is a horrible person, a horrible, evil person. If this is the guy that we're talking to right now, if this guy is Jack the Ripper, we need to hit the kill button. I think the kill button should be hit right about now.
Well, I mean,
You don't want to hit the kill
Were
button.
there rules to this thing? Can you just willy-nilly just pick whatever you want?
I
don't
think
know,
it
should I-
seems like
No, you got
we
to
could try
hit
it.
the interview again. I'll tell you things.
Yeah,
I'm
what
gonna
if we
tell all
double
kinds
hit
of
interview?
things.
Exactly.
yeah,
Like,
well, let me try it.
you need interview again?
There's another button over here, though.
No.
It's like
No.
kind of like Michael
Which
Caine,
one?
but like a drunk Michael Caine.
Yeah.
When was he
Which is
not
kinda
drunk?
cool.
Let me see what this other button is.
Don't.
Oh my my God.
Stop.
Don't.
He's always blowing. I think it's a thing now.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
blowing
you
the
don't
button
need
too much.
to.
It's not. You're
Stop
not
blowing me.
Okay, I'll hit
yikes.
interview again then.
It's not like a Sega Genesis.
All right, here we go. I'm hitting interview right now.
You kids,
Can you let us do the intro back before you start with your mumble mouth?
Damn.
Oh yeah.
It's a,
Like a
it's fine,
murder
Cass.
Keith Richards over
It's
here.
fine. Hey, welcome back to Fort Fritz, guys. So we were talking to Jack the Ripper, I believe, because
No.
well, your nameplate says
It's
quotation
got
marks.
the question marks
Yeah.
right on
Jack
it.
the Ripper,
These guys
question
are
mark, question mark,
Could you
Yeah,
not
that's
remember your
quotation
name?
marks. So.
No, they couldn't. They said, "Oh, let's put him in the bean. He's a killer. Let's put him in the bean."
Do you
Jeez.
remember your time in the bean?
Boston?
I wish I could forget my time in the bean. Truth be told, it's like a never-ending nightmare. It's
Are you
just-
conscious the whole time in
Yeah.
Oh
Are you just
yeah,
sleeping?
yeah. No, you're just there, just staring at bean all day.
So there's no sleep? Do you sleep?
No, there's no sleep. There's no darkness.
How do you breathe?
Only bean?
Do you
Just
breathe?
bean. Just like in that movie where they went underwater and they had to breathe in water to be underwater.
Abyss.
Yeah, I was.
But
just
only
like that
bean.
with bean.
It's just
yeah.
bean.
Instead of breathing, you bean.
You're bean.
Bean.
I'm a human being.
Check-
And I've been.
Oh my God, the human bean.
I know, yeah. It's hilarious. You're the first one ever to say that.
Jack the Ripper, do you remember your name
It's not
prior?
Jack the Ripper. It's Zach the Stripper. It's so easy. I don't
Yes.
understand. I mean, I'm at a strip club, Shrewsbury, England. Maybe been there. It should be-
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury. It should be Shredsbury. Look at those.
Oh my God,
yeah.
those
Oh,
abs.
it's amazing.
Yeah, those are
Magic
abs,
Mike.
Jesus
Absolutely
Christ.
impressive. How I can keep my
Wait.
figure in this bean, I have
Pull
no
your shirt
idea.
back up.
Bean has to have
Look at that.
nutrients in it.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
just keep
Yeah,
it up the
yeah,
abs, yeah.
it's
I
amazing.
didn't even know I liked abs.
It's been a long
This guy's a
Good
killer.
Yeah,
to know.
Listen to
No,
him.
I'm
This
a
guy's-
stripper.
no.
Why would I be a killer?
He's so strange.
No.
I feel like you could be both.
He is very
Look,
strange.
I can tell you one thing. All right, I was doing my thing.
What's that, stripper?
I was stripping away, just showing off the goods,
Is it-
dangly
is it
bits
full
all
pickle in
over the
Shrewsbury?
place.
You guys go
oh,
full pickle?
yeah, flying all over the
Ah.
place. Total helicopter.
Wow, all right.
All right.
Oh, it's
Jeez.
impressive. Trust me.
Shrewsbury pickle.
You got to step back a little
Yeah.
bit. Make some room. Shrewsbury
Pickle.
pickle, they called me. But I was on stage, and then this crazy man with an afro and a huge mustache,
do tell.
like from the 70s or something, jumps up with a rag with some chloroform and shit.
Oh my God.
What?
And I wake up, and here I am in a bean. That's all I
That-
know, and that
that's-
happened
That was the
like
thing that
100
happened.
Very
years ago.
aggressive.
Right before you
Very
wanted the
aggressive.
bean.
It is very.
You're not
aggressive.
supposed to touch the strippers. Everyone knows this.
You
And
got away with it
chloroform.
too.
Yeah.
They just got you on
Chloroform
stage.
the fuck out of me.
Like came out of nowhere.
You don't expect something like that, you know? When you see something that, your mind just like blots over it. You're like, there's no way a guy with an afro and a huge 70 mustache is tracking me when I'm stripping. And it just happens and just boom. It
And
gets
then
you.
you're in the bean.
Wait, was there
God.
anyone else around?
I'm so sorry that
I was
happened to
stripping,
you.
of course there are people around. How do you think I pay my bills? Think I'm just stripping to myself
didn't
like
know if
Billy
there was a
Idol?
Private.
Dancing with myself? Oh shit.
Zach, I'm so sorry to hear this, but
What?
I don't believe you.
Why?
There's no way in hell I can believe you.
This all sounds made up.
Yeah.
Shrewsbury.
How?
They're lining up in
Shrewsbury, look it up.
Shrewsbury, England.
You all have those fancy phones I see you playing with all day. Look it
You
up.
think the only motherfucker in abs is Shrewsbury, England? Dude?
Let's
Like,
talk about Jack the Ripper. Let's talk about all of his
Let's bring it back to
victims,
reality. Exactly.
Right?
So,
So I think he
boring
might
all
be
day.
Jack the Ripper.
No.
Yeah, and I have
No,
evidence. I have
no.
evidence.
Wait, you do?
Yep.
What do you have? What do you have?
Over 200 people who have also been said to be Jack the Ripper.
Over 200.
See?
Oh, over 200.
What?
Say,
Oh,
say.
no.
You guys haven't heard of the Jack the Ripper suspects?
No.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, welcome.
There are over 100 suspects that are believed to be maybe affiliated with Jack the Ripper, but over 200 just casually dropped on the ground like, I don't care about you, you don't care about me. So of the 100 suspects in the infamously unsolved Jack the Ripper saga, some of them have been vetted by the world's highest police and intelligence agencies. The rest are downright silly. So going back to the Don't F with Cats, right, which is a new
yeah.
documentary.
No,
Can't watch it.
Nope,
Can't
nope,
watch it.
Nobody, nope.
You know the drill. Internet sleuths get on their preferred internet aggregate sites, which collate websites into a neat bundle
Like kayak.
of specific facts and vague half-truths. And then the
Wait, there's
Eureka.
half-truths on the internet?
Ooh, yeah. And alternative facts.
No, wait.
Quarter truths.
Yep.
And
16th
lots of opinions.
And then everyone hits that eureka moment. Oh, I know now conclusively who Jack the Ripper was. And then we have books being written ad infinitum. And then here we are with me saying, there are 200 suspects. Because anyone can write a book about it. So of these books that get published to varying degrees of success, you have some that are shamefully chided for their gulf of vision and haphazardly investigated in air quotes journalistic endeavors. And then you have the ones that are actually backed by contemporaneous evidence of the day.
Right.
So before we go into that, let's break down competence. Because this was a key theme that I saw in all of the suspects. It all starts off with the first level of competence, and that is unconscious incompetence.
Okay.
Angela, Kaz, Mandaddy, what do you think unconscious incompetence is?
You're too asleep to do something properly?
Okay,
It's like instinct, right? Like unconscious
you're getting close.
competence. Like you don't know you're good at something. It's just your skill, like an inborn skill. You just know how to make that sugar.
You are unaware of the skill and your lack of proficiency. You don't know what you're not expected of. So you're gonna show up day one. I gotta make the sugar? So this is the worst suspects' names thrown around in the category of Jack the Ripper.
Charlie Sheen.
I will start with this. Richard Mansfield, who was a goddamned actor who appeared in a theatrical production of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Critics said, man, he murders so good. I wonder if he's Jack the
actual
Ripper.
Jack
Oh my
the Ripper.
god.
He's just doing it so well on stage. He just has to be rehearsing somewhere.
Yep.
Oh, people.
Another one, Charles Swinburne, an alcoholic and epileptic who claimed to be a leading expert on the burgeoning BDSM scene, who claimed to have raped several people
Whoa.
and was an all-around turd with no convincing evidence to Whitechapel.
That's still a horrible person, so let's back it up.
Lock him up.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Madame Helena Blavatsky, who had no history of violence, but she just happened to live in London during the time of the murders.
Oh.
That'll teach her.
Yep.
Nothing else
All of
with
them?
regards to
Yeah.
evidence, so nothing. So
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah,
knew
she was there.
Just you. I just looked over and I saw her face and I thought, that's it.
Look at that Ripper face.
Resting Ripper face.
Resting Ripper face.
And lastly, an unidentified primate
What?
who had a
What?
thirst
All
for
right.
bloodletting of human beings.
Well,
An,
you don't know what they're training them?
an
is true.
unidentified
Well, humans
primate
are primates, right?
who had a thirst for
Yeah.
bloodletting of human
Yeah.
beings. Now let's move on to the second level of competence. If the first was unconscious incompetence, you are unaware of the skill and your lack of proficiency. Level 2 should be what? Again, the root will be conscious and competence in each one. If the first one was unconscious incompetence, what would the second one be?
Conscious incompetence.
Conscious incompetence. You are aware of the skill, but not yet proficient.
Okay.
And now we have these names added to the list of suspected Jack the Rippers. Herman Webster Mudgett, a.k.a. H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
America's
That's right.
first serial killer.
Mudgett.
Despite my brother Dirt McCoy's fascination with him, he should never be considered a suspect, as he never conclusively, via evidence, visited nor resided in London. So we're getting closer, though. He was America's first serial killer. Lewis Carroll, author
What?
Nice.
of which book?
Through the Looking Glass.
Glass Alice in Wonderland.
Via rearranging the letters in his paragraphs, he confesses, I am Jack the Ripper.
What?
Yeah.
So
He
just-
alludes.
They found an anagram.
It's amazing.
But they rearranged
rearranging the letters in
They're
his.
like,
So he decided to
Oh.
rearrange organs
Yeah.
in people. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, let's put the kidney where the brain is.
Apparently, the confession is the butcher of Whitechapel, but he did write Jack the Ripper, light-hearted friend.
What?
And then it ends there. Level 1 is unconscious incompetence, and then we have conscious incompetence. What would level 3 be?
Conscious competence.
Conscious competence. You are able to use the skill, but only with effort. So this is where we get closer to the prime suspects. Prince Albert Victor.
Was he in a can?
He was not. Prince Albert in a can, no.
Do you have a bunch of piercings on his dick?
I think he did. Yes, I
Think
went
about that being your legacy.
first
He's up
one.
there in heaven or
Yeah.
wherever. It's like, so what do they wrote about me? Oh, you don't want to know.
Yeah, he had a lot of
How
piercings.
into industrial are you?
So, Prince Albert Victor, back in 1970, he was suspected in the murders after a claim he was, quote, driven mad with syphilis, unquote. The suggestion was widely dismissed. We are no closer in this phase than any of the other ones, but we are getting a little bit more tied with that. So that was a person of royal family heritage
Prince Albert.
who was driven mad with syphilis, and he could have gotten away with it. Number 2, Joseph Barnett, former lover of Mary Kelly, who was the last victim, right?
Okay, yep.
Oh.
The idea here is that he butchered his former beau and then, for whatever reason, killed as many prostitutes as he could. So he
Mary
just
Kelly
went
was
on
the
the-
first.
You got a flavor for it, got a taste for it, and like, hey, this is cool.
or practiced before Mary Kelly, because
working up
Nichols,
to it.
Nichols was the first one, right?
Right, and Kelly was the last one.
Yep.
So he worked his way up to killing his wife.
David Cohen, whose incarceration at the Colney Hatch Lunatic Asylum corresponded with the end of the murder spree. No other evidence.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
This is how
Okay.
just lackadaisical, just people can assume someone was murdering people for no reason. James Maybrick, he was a cotton merchant, and he traveled from the States
Shady.
to the UK. Later, a diary surfaced allegedly belonging to him in which he detailed the deaths of the 5 prominent victims. He also had a pocket watch inscribed with "I am Jack" in the initials of the 5 attributed to Jack the Ripper.
Oh.
This
kind of a
claim,
thing.
although plausible, doesn't hold up because the person who first presented the story changed their story figuratively gazillions of times.
Oh. So not the Cotton Man.
Not literally gazillion of times, figuratively.
Figuratively.
Okay,
Thank you. We now move on to the 4th level, competence. So unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence. What would the 4th one be?
Mastery.
Godhead.
Unconscious competence. Performing the
Oh.
skill becomes automatic.
Automatic. Don't think about it.
In
Muscle
flow.
memory.
All
Yeah.
of the 4 suspects I'm about to mention could be Jack the Ripper.
Oh, right, see?
We have suspect 1, Montague Druitt.
Montague.
He was the son. He was the son of a prominent.
Chill.
Representing Montagues over here.
I'm trying to get through my story. Montague Druitt was the son of a prominent surgeon and officer of the law and was very well educated. He was an assistant schoolmaster who, the newspaper said, got into serious trouble in 1888. A month later, his body was removed from the Thames, and shortly before that, the final killing took place in the Jack the Ripper episode. So, here's why it could be him. From allthat'sinteresting.com, 3 years later in 1891, a member of parliament from West Dorchester, England, began saying that the Ripper was, quote, the son of a surgeon, unquote, who had committed suicide on the night of the last murder. So there's a documentation directly linking him. However, he suffered from severe depression and wrote in his suicide note he feared he would end up like his mother, who had several mental breakdowns. So he consciously took his own life. The son of a surgeon, he had no medical background. You know, he didn't train in it. It's just his dad was a surgeon.
Sorry, but a lot of common stuff with like the whole mom thing if she had a mental illness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Number 2, we have George Chapman, one of the most likely suspects, apprenticed as a surgeon.
Oh.
While married, he had an affair with another Polish woman who he later married as wifey number 2 and later moved to New Jersey in 1891. Now that's after the 5th murder, correct?
Yes.
During this time, he had an argument with his second wife in the States and calmly described to her how he would kill, dismember, and dispose of her body.
Yikes.
Just described it to her.
Damn.
That'll shut you up.
I'm
That'll
gonna tell you-
shut you
I'll
up
tell you
right there.
exactly what I'm going to do.
Yep. After that relationship ended, he met
For some reason.
a divorcee who included him in her will. And you know where this is going from here.
Oh.
He again just
Stupid.
continued to abuse and beat her and continued with his infidelities. In 1897, he poisoned her with tartar emetic, which is similar to arsenic. She died, and then Chapman took her life savings and her last name of Chapman,
Oh.
further
Clever dick.
abusing and murdering 2 other mistresses. When these bodies were exhumed, they found that they all died from a form of arsenic poisoning, and he was hanged in 1903. Now, his second wife said, while living in Whitechapel, he would venture out into the night at all hours. He was also a known murderer who picked women as his target.
So that would be him.
However, he might not have known English well enough to seduce prostitutes and was never an official suspect.
You don't really.
It sounds
You don't.
that.
You don't really need
Yeah.
to seduce a prostitute.
How?
That's true.
Oh
pretty much-
my.
You just kind of need to
That's not really.
jangle the
Don't
coin
really need
purse
to
a
have
little
game
bit.
when it comes
Yeah.
to prostitutes.
Yeah, you just.
That is true.
Kind of money driven, it seems.
I got two more. Thomas Neil Cream had medical training and murdered his mistress, who was pregnant with his child. So
Oh.
immediately he was an asshole.
Double killer.
He used chloroform,
Oh, Lord.
Oh.
which was his medical specialty. He then
He
moved.
specialized in chloroform.
Yeah.
Don't date people like that. That's on your. It's like, what you? I'm
that's
really into chloroform.
Really into chloroform.
Oh man, that would be a very
Specialize in
massive red flag.
Yeah. So you're a doctor. I'm an anesthesiologist. Check please.
Kinda.
Amateur.
Kinda.
Gotta go.
Amateur anesthesiologist.
I dabble.
Improvisational.
So Thomas Neil Cream then moved to the edge of Chicago.
Wait, his last name
performing-
was Cream?
Yep. He then moved to the edge of Chicago performing illegal abortions for prostitutes.
Jesus.
He was finally caught in 1881. So
Which
after
explains the womb stealing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Angela. So
Womb
he
stealing.
was finally caught in 1881 after he murdered the husband of his mistress. He was given a life sentence, but it was commutated to 10 years. He gained his father's inheritance while in prison, went out, moved to London, where he again poisoned prostitutes.
Wow.
He was known as the Lambeth Poisoner, but while being hanged for his newer crimes in 1893, his last words per his executioner was, "I am Jack the..."
Oh, really? That's a cliffhanger for you.
As his last words.
It's gonna give the guy another syllable
Exactly.
or two.
Why he is...
We've got a schedule. I'm sorry. That sounded really
The
interesting.
mayor looks at the guy on the switch like, dude,
What? He's like,
Two
you
more
could have
seconds.
waited a little bit. He goes,
Come
2 more
on.
seconds every time. Harry,
I'm sorry, my hands
don't
are
use my
sweating."
real name.
You're such a psycho.
What do you think I can hold on?
You're such a psycho, Harry.
Why he could not be Jack the Ripper? Well, duh, he was in Illinois during most of the Whitechapel murders.
Oh,
So
maybe his
the-
doppelganger.
The fact that we're even bringing him up in the most competent of suspects tells you they have no clear alibi besides Chapman. Totally the Ripper. Totally the Ripper.
Just is. He just is.
Last one, we have Thomas Cutbush. Thomas
That would be a little on the nose,
What?
wouldn't it?
Thomas Haynes
Bush.
Cutbush. Spelled
Oh,
exactly
man.
as in.
The detective's curse. It's always right under your nose.
You never
It's like,
know.
Oh, could it be
Kevin
Cutbush?
McUterus
No. Too easy.
Uterus.
Cutbush studied medicine in London before suffering violent delusions, presumably goes right back around by contracting syphilis.
Oh,
In
lots of
19
syphilis going around.
In 1891, he was sent to Lambeth Infirmary. Suspecting doctors were poisoning, he escaped and attacked 2 women with knives.
Oh.
He was later apprehended.
Why did he say it like Jerry Lewis?
With the ladies
awesome.
with the knife and the stabby.
Did you
2
expect
women
that,
with
Kaz?
knives.
You didn't expect that, did
That
you?
was awesome.
He was later apprehended and sent to Broadmoor High Security Hospital, where he died in 1903. A book was written about his suspected involvement in the Ripper slayings, and public interest was satiated. But aside from his mental defects, it is not widely believed he was associated with any Whitechapel murder. However, he might have had syphilis.
There you go.
And those are the suspects. I didn't get through all 200, but I got through 15.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
No, so none of them were Zach the Stripper.
None of that was me.
None of
None
them
of
were Zack
that
the
was me.
Stripper.
I don't have the
But
syphilis.
still, like, look at this guy.
I practice
No, this
safe
totally
sex.
got syphilis. Look at this dude.
No, I don't. You can't have syphilis and look as hot as I do.
Shrewsbury.
I don't know.
God.
Yeah,
No.
I think that's
That's kind of how it's
That's how it
passed.
works.
That's hot, though, right?
So stunning. You don't have to worry about me. You say all those people who just you got all this nothing on them, and you come to me and say, "Oh look, he's in a bean. It says Jack the Ripper, and it's him." So you don't have as much as even they do.
All right. Well,
I think you're. I mean, like we have more actually.
super
You're,
hot, right? But
Yeah, that's
We've
all
captured
you got.
you and we preserved you.
He's
in the
hot.
bean.
He's in a bean.
Who even knows what
He's,
timeline you're from? Like, where are you from? Like, what
I don't need to tell you that.
guys, can we take a huddle, like a sidebar, for a
sidebar
minute?
huddle away from the
Yeah,
bean?
this
Yeah.
is getting kind
Yeah.
of weird.
How far away from the bean can you hear us?
Shut up.
You're listening to For Fritz.
And it's triangulating and just like enhance.
Kaz, what are you doing?
Zoom, enhance.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at stuff on the computer. Hang on.
Why is there?
Does that zoom enhance thing actually work? I've seen that all the time.
Wait, how old is that
How
computer?
old is that computer?
It's like a PET or
It's
something.
one of those. What was the ones? The like the
TRS-80?
iMac, the one that looked like a little ball. It was
Hold
like,
on,
they were like purple.
There's a couple
and
keys
orange.
over here. Hold on.
Wait.
Oh god!
Don't
Get with the
stop.
blowing.
It's fine.
Why?
I know what it's.
Not everything's
I love
that
when this
dusty.
guy blows everything.
He's just
It's
got a little-
hilarious. There you go. Yeah,
He's like a
it
cat.
gets in your
Yeah.
nose. A lot of things
Oh,
are on my
God,
nose.
these are really
Ugh.
convincing sneezes, though.
Very.
I'm pretty sure he's actually sneezing at this point. He's got something on
You
there.
all right?
Have I got a napkin?
Did
I'm
you
fine.
get?
I'm
Did
fine.
you
He's
get all
fine.
of it?
I'm fine.
He's fine.
They're kind of red.
Oh,
Oh, get
Get
that guy
together.
a Kleenex or
All
something.
right, listen. This is
Stop.
starting to get off the rails.
Stop.
So
So
doing
glad I'm in
that.
the bean and not out there with you sick assholes.
you're gonna stay in the bean, bro. Just newsflash.
And with that all sneezing and everything, you got the coronavirus.
I'm gonna bean you, bro.
I'm over here. I'm looking at
What?
the figures, and it doesn't look good for you. I'm
what?
just saying that.
What did you look up?
What do the
I'm-
bean figures say?
Well, so we,
Check out the bean counters. Am I right? I guess it's
Oh, that's stupid.
It was pretty stupid.
yeah, it's
Good.
kind of stupid.
I like that though. I like stupid.
He's got spirit, if nothing else. Maybe we like return him to the Forever-ness of the in between, but like leave his head so he can like talk.
Oh wait, that button's over here.
Wait, just wait. Don't press it
No.
yet. Hang on, wait, wait,
No,
wait,
the
wait.
Stop.
blowing again, the blowing.
Okay, so yeah, no, I'm using the computer
Yeah, yeah.
because you know we it's modern times. We can actually like use forensic science to kind of determine maybe if
That's
this guy's
true.
innocent or he's.
I tell you about this the whole time.
In my late uncle's
he's
haunted
telling us
house.
that, exactly.
Do you know
like,
what computer is?
Ooh,
this computer?
it's pretty old.
I don't know. it
Zach?
looks-
Oh, I just know you'll keep in here now. You always have the little phony phones in your faces and clicking on the little keyboard thing.
Okay,
Wait,
so
how
this
do you
guy's
always
definitely
know
he's
this?
old timey.
Yeah, but how does he always know that?
Because I'm always here, the bean.
The
Never
bean
seen you
faces
before,
and
Bean.
like yeah, exactly.
The bean
No,
is
I've never.
forever.
Okay, Kaz,
Weird.
what you got there?
Yeah,
Ooh,
so
it's a blue
I
screen.
mean, like
That's not good.
yeah,
It's
no,
blue.
I broke it, but like what I gathered from.
Why did you break it?
Trying to
I didn't mean
download something again.
No, I didn't mean to break
He's
it.
walking
but it's
away from the
broken now.
computer.
You spill something on it?
What I figured out is that there are modern ways to kind of like research who this killer might have been, and we know a lot about the area now. Even though it has been drastically kind of renovated, there are different streets that existed that don't anymore, buildings that don't anymore, etc. And actually, a article from the Texas State University has a fantastic bit about their Center for Geospatial Intelligence and Investigation, where they actually researched the Jack the Ripper killings and kind of tried to triangulate where in the city he might have come from, and based on that, during the time, what he might have
Like
been.
walking distance and things like that,
Correct.
like human metrics.
Fascinating.
Have you guys ever actually looked at the evidence?
I have not.
Oh, there's that sound again.
Whoa.
What kind of
Don't
evidence?
reference the sound, Mr. Bean.
Oh, it's,
Mr.
Bean is
Bean.
hilarious. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm not as good as him. He's funny. So.
Oh, so
He
he
is
knows
so
who Mr.
good.
Bean is,
All right.
but does not know
Everyone
what
knows who
computer
Mr.
is.
Bean is.
All
He's
right.
all the memes. He's all the bean
See, we're
memes.
starting to triangulate
Bean
now
memes.
where maybe this man comes from Shrewsbury, England, allegedly.
I
but
came from Shrewsbury. I
knows
told you
Mr. Bean doesn't know computers, though, so we've got like a
I'm just not good at them. I
narrow
don't know computers. I know what a computer is.
Okay.
pronounced
All right,
correctly.
Mr.
He's
Bean.
been in the
Boomer.
Bean for a
Thanks
while.
for the
Right,
info.
Pascal
Boomer.
had
Thanks for the
that,
info.
so-
I actually like this bit about they kind of like set the scene for the Whitechapel area during this time, and I'm quoting again from the Texas State University Center for Geospatial Intelligence and Investigation, Jack the Ripper. So you can look that up. But it's this guy says many of the rookeries, and rookeries being kind of like the the dens of
Dens of
what you would
iniquity.
call, like
Dens of iniquity.
Like a thieves' landing
yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like where the slums essentially. So many of the rookeries in Victoria and
Come on
in
into my
London.
rookery.
Chill.
It's like a
Should we refill
fly-by-night.
the bean?
A fly-by-night.
No,
rookery.
no, I'm good.
All right, settle down. We're in story time. You'll have your chance. You'll have your say. Many of the rookeries in Victoria and London were demolished during a series of social reforms, but the slums of Whitechapel and Spitalfields survived and predictably endured an influx of criminals displaced by the city's urban renewal program. The late 1800s saw almost 1 million people dwelling in the slums east of Aldgate Pump. 4,000 houses in Whitechapel alone in one year were condemned as uninhabitable.
Ooh.
And nothing was done about it for years after.
I wonder if Spitalfield refers to the old Caribbean or pirate spit of land, like a Spitalfield. If
The
there's
little tiny field.
if
How
there's
far you
like
could spit?
two cities next to each other and there's like one just swath of land, it's like a Spitalfield.
Yeah. Interesting
That's
way
like
to think
us.
about it.
It's
Sure.
an amazing
Yeah.
inference right there.
That's
like
for
a
us.
like a
Yes.
popka.
Land of the big potato.
Yep.
Spittle of a popka.
You know, I don't know. I wonder though, like if it's just like, that's land that we're not going to use, whatever.
Liquid sewage filled the cellars of houses, and people kept their windows, those not yet broken, shut because of the stench from without. The majority of families, often up to 9 people, lived in one room. Incest was common in these crowded conditions, even amongst children as young as 10.
Whoa!
What?
Many East End youth
There was no
died-
Netflix.
Many East End youth died before they were 5. It would not be unusual for mothers to send their children into the streets until after midnight while she engaged in the business of prostitution, sufficient enough for money to feed them. Often children fell in the streets due to exhaustion or cried out in pain from chronic starvation.
Damn.
Hey, this is really rough.
Right? So you're trying to paint basically the picture of like where this was happening, and it was a
Bleak.
rough place. Correct.
Bleak is the words that come into mind. Bleak.
The killings took place. There were 5 canonical killings, but up to as many as 11 or possibly even more, according to what article you're looking at. But they varied in the horrific butchering. But in 1988. Actually, the FBI started to put together a criminal personality profile for the Jack the Ripper murders.
1988.
1988. So relatively modern, right? Considering, I guess that was actually what?
That was extremely modern, considering the last murder was 1888.
Right.
100 years later.
Yeah. Jeez, and they still haven't figured it out. It's incredible.
So after an analysis of the crime scenes, the police and autopsy reports, photographs, victimology, the area demographics. Victimology. The following key crime scene elements were identified: blitz attacks and lust murders, high degree of psychopathology exhibited at the crime scenes, no evidence of sexual assault, possible manual strangulation, you say definitely, but possible, post-mortem mutilation and organ removal, but no torture, elaboration of ritual, victims selected on basis of accessibility. All the crimes took place on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and in
Who's got time during the week?
No, exactly. There's not enough time
Gotta
during the
feed
day.
the family.
Opportunistic, high volume crime like area.
Oh yeah.
In the early morning hours, and unreported attacks may have occurred. So they're saying again, these might be the ones that are attributed to him.
So these are again the 5 of the 11. They
The
all kind of
canonical
make
5.
sense. Yeah.
Correct. In addition to those, they were able to put together the profile of what they assume might be some traits of the actual Jack the Ripper, based again on the geospatiality of the different events and what was going on in the area. They assume he was a white male, 28 to 36 years of age, obviously, was of average intelligence, single, never married, and had difficulty interacting with people, in particular women, was nocturnal and not accountable to anyone. I don't know why that would be in there.
Like a loafer. Like someone who's a loner.
Okay. Blended in with his surroundings.
Like a loner.
Had poor personal hygiene and appeared disheveled.
Yep.
Loner.
Was
Loner.
personally inadequate with low self-image and
that's
diminished emotional responses.
That's a mean
was a
daddy.
quiet loner,
Sure.
withdrawn and asocial.
Loner.
Lower social class.
Yeah,
Lived or worked in Whitechapel and committed the crimes close to his home.
that's a loner.
Had a menial job with little to no interaction with the public. Was employed Monday through Friday, possibly as a butcher, mortician's helper, medical examiner's assistant, or hospital attendant. The proximity of the London hospital was noted in the profile.
So that's from 1988.
Correct. This is them putting together like a possible profile on who this person would have been based on the area.
And Mandaddy, the original 5 victims were who again?
Marianne Nichols, Ann Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly.
The geographic concentration, again quoting from the Texas State article, geographic concentration of the Ripper crimes was in interest to the researchers because they were all within a mile of each other. And the total hunting area was just over half a square mile in size.
Hunting area. Wow.
So they produced the above mentioned profile on him based on the geography of the dumping sites, where the bodies were found, where these women lived prior to this, and kind of the area that this person might have grown up or been around in. And it seems like it's between the Flower, Dean, and Thrall Street areas of Whitechapel.
Thrall. Meet me on Thrall Street.
But
I'm not
according
gonna
to
make
this,
light of it, but that's badass.
according to this article, the area is known as a vice-ridden neighborhood. East End social reformers refer to as the Wicked Quarter Mile.
The Wicked Quarter Mile.
And it seems like that was one of his. That was basically the main area that he kind of haunted. There was an interesting, and I'll see if it shows up in here.
So
Here
I
we go.
wonder if it was the Wicked Quarter Mile because of people like him, or because of people who could just kind of infiltrate the area
Well, again, I think
and
there
just
was-
kind of seduce the locals. And
There's
just,
a lot
you know,
of dark
Yeah,
areas.
there was rampant kind of violence and crime in the area, but these were the ones that were coming out as particularly brutal and, horrific because
Yeah.
of the fact that they were being so publicly kind of like, there were disappearances a lot. That's what they were saying. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, it was a shady kind of part of town.
I wonder if the mentality of the Jack the Ripper murder, though, was like, hey, I'm going to take care of you guys, you take care of me, or if it was just someone who literally didn't show his face around that part until it was time to
I did
kill.
read that someone
drop in, drop out.
Yeah.
actually a group of these people, I don't know if it's like commonly referred to as, but ripperologists. One of the,
Wow.
I would imagine, yeah.
one of these
Degree in
guys,
ripperology.
one of these guys suggested that maybe that this was a person's attempt to draw attention to the fact that this was a horrifying, like, slummy part of the area, part of town, and then it needed to be policed more heavily or something like that. Obviously,
Get it
like,
in the
it's-
news.
right, like an anti-Batman kind of thing.
Like a false flag.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, there you go.
But it being a real flag. Being a
So
dead prostitute.
interesting that you would. Interesting. Jesus Christ.
What did I say?
They were
God,
able to
you
find.
really made it real.
Actually, Edos. Since you bring it up, part of Catherine Edos's bloodstained apron was cut away by her killer, and the missing segment was actually later found in a passageway and a staircase to the Wentworth model dwellings on Goulston Street. Yeah, I'm not sure where that is. Obviously, it's in London somewhere. Located just south of Wentworth Street. Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Google Maps.
Which is about a third of a mile, 10-minute walk from Mitra Square, where Edos was murdered. It appeared that the bloodied apron piece had been used to wipe clean a knife, and the following graffito was written in chalk above the black brick wall. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is some mad Lewis Carroll ass shit.
That's why Lewis Carroll was suspected.
The Jews are not men that will be blamed for nothing.
Wow.
And apparently, the investigator, well, another thing I read, it's not in this article, but the lead investigator at the time actually had them like scrub that off the wall. Like it was part of this, that people like thought it was evidence, and he thought, oh no, it's just graffiti or whatever, just scrub it off the wall. But it's become this like thing that people reference that maybe he was somebody who had an agenda against Jewish people, or there was some kind of connection in that. But the Jews is spelled capital J, U-W-E-S.
Jews.
Jewish.
Jews.
Jews.
The Jews. It's because of the Jews.
Jews are not men.
So
Jews.
from Whitechapel to Goulston Street, Goulston, right?
G-H.
The
No, yeah, you're right.
Goulston.
Goulston Street.
So from Whitechapel to Goulston Street, it is a 10-minute walk.
You're actually using Google Maps. That's
Yep.
amazing.
And that's what it says on here too.
Nice.
It's about a 10-minute walk.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's a 0.5 mile walk, so that is very close by. So that was found where? Leading into what building?
The Wentworth model dwellings.
Oof.
I'm not sure if that still exists or not, but that's apparently somewhere where people were staying at the time. But yeah, there was some evidence of a bloody apron and then some strange graffito on the wall. And
About the Jews.
About the Jew. Well, yeah, J-U-W-E-S. That might be a new thing that we don't know. Like people said the Jews, but like you don't know. It could be maybe he knew about some new kind of, I don't know,
Something else
thing.
going on.
Yeah, maybe there's like a new thing going on.
Maybe he was trying to spell Jules, like Julie, and he was like, I don't know. Is it a double U? I don't know. I gotta run.
Nothing's worse than being racist and illiterate.
And there's like, bye, bye, bye.
So based on this, we can kind of start to deduce whether or not Zach the stripper here is actually. Are you a white male between the ages of 28 and 36 years old?
Well, I mean, I don't like to.
No, you gotta say it if you are.
Labor says his
Try to
age.
say it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going
he's
I'm
looking-
in the
look at him.
I'm in
Yes,
the
yes.
zone.
No,
I'm in
that's
that
affirmative.
zone.
Average
Are you a cop? Because you got to tell
average
us.
intelligence, you know, like
right.
average
That's
is-
giving me a little bit, but sure.
Yeah, he's average.
you a cop?
Nocturnal, not accountable to
I don't
everyone.
have to tell you, it's a myth.
Nocturnal, not accountable to anyone. He stays in a bean all night behind a wall.
Yeah,
like-
That was not by my choice. That was by the crazy guy with the
Yeah,
huge
well-
well, that's all we
mouth.
know. We're going
Who,
by
my
the fa-
uncle?
we're going
You
by the
talking
fact.
shit about my uncle, you fuckhead?
That's been your life.
Oh, that explains your face.
You
Quiet
thank you.
loner,
That's true.
withdrawn and asocial. Again,
Loner?
refer
Loafer?
back
Yeah.
to
Do
the
I
bean.
look
Definitely
quiet,
loner.
you fuck?
He always, yeah, he like didn't really seem to like the interaction with us.
Wait, hold on, how
of
about
lower
this?
class, listen to his accent, obviously some stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kaz, if you don't
fuck
mind.
off.
How about this, Zach, the stripper? Give me the phone number of your best friend right now.
Go.
8675309.
See, that doesn't.
Timmy
no,
Two-Tone?
that's a song.
Timmy Two-Tone's your best
Jenny.
friend?
Tommy.
Tommy Two-Tone?
Timmy Two-Tone? Tommy
Timmy
Two-Tone's
Two-Tone.
brother?
Jimmy.
Do you think you know about Timmy
Jimmy Quarter
Two-Tone?
Note.
Jimmy Coocone? Jimmy Quarter Note?
You know about Jimmy
I ain't buying that
Quarter,
shit, bruh.
though. It's the whole gang.
I don't believe him already.
Staff.
I don't believe him.
Oh, you should just believe me. Just don't kill me. Release me from the bane.
Okay, so maybe we don't have enough evidence to like kill him, right? We don't know if it's definitely him or not.
We could, though. I got this
We
button over here.
could.
No,
I'm
stop
down.
going.
Blow
I'm
the
down.
dust off the button.
I'm kind of just tired of him.
Yeah, me too. Can we get...
Oh, you're fascinating as shit too, you bird.
Hey, easy.
What?
Jesus Christ.
See, that's the kind of shit that makes people want to kill you.
Yeah.
Well, if people, it's probably all the killing I did that makes people. I mean,
Wait a
probably
minute.
because all the
See, there it
stripping.
is.
Wait a
Oh,
minute. Are
this-
you Jack the Ripper?
All right, I'm totally Jack the Ripper. I'm totally. I've been fucking you the whole time. I mean, that's how I get the abs. It's all the stabbing. You know, stabbing is a really
very
good
core-
core
core
workout.
Lots
Yeah.
of core work.
Oh yeah, you gotta really get in there.
So should we kill him?
Ow!
Well, we have two
I
options.
mean, it's
I don't
been
wanna
so
just
long.
leave
What's the
Jack the
statute of limitation on killing a
Shut up,
prostitute?
Zach. Let me think. We have two options. We
Jack.
can kill him, or we can send him to the Forever-ness of the in-between. So, man, Daddy, what do you think?
Groovy.
Send him to the Forever-ness of the in-between, which is probably like a ayahuasca trip.
Yeah, that sounds
until
kind of
the
trippy.
Netherlands.
I mean, I kind of want to do that.
It's
I
the
mean,
foreverness of the
Or we
in-between.
can kill him right now, which would probably be a ayahuasca trip to the Netherlands.
It's
Angela.
honestly, both of them are going to be
you think?
pretty trippy, man.
yeah, either way.
I guess it's not cool to just like commit someone to be dead, but
But he's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
I don't want to just have Jack the Ripper hanging out behind a wall somewhere. That seems
Oh,
like
come on.
yeah,
How-
weird.
how could that
I feel like
possibly
would
backfire?
that would definitely blow up in your face.
Right?
But Angela, you kill people.
Oh,
all
it's
the
an
time.
unescapable
I-
bean.
I know.
You just want to stay in the
Yeah.
bean?
He wasn't a bean.
It's better than being killed, I'm guessing.
I guess we can.
I mean, it's a
I
shitty
agree.
bean, don't get me wrong, but
All
I
right,
mean.
easy.
All right, kill him.
Yeah.
No.
He's pretty.
Damn it.
He's
Well,
pretty
that or
atrocious.
shitty bean.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, no, it's a shitty bean, but I mean, death seems so much more, final than a bean.
I
I
don't know.
don't.
If you want us to
I feel
kill
like
him,
it's-
text in.
It sucks because it's kind of inconclusive. We don't know for sure that it's him. There's so many suspects. We can't. But he is kind of just not cool.
I hate him.
Can you kill someone for being not
yeah,
that cool?
Yes.
I know. That's what I'm wondering. Like my
That's-
impulse is absolutely. I'm
Kill
tired
him.
of him.
If that was true, you all
But
would
is
be
that
dead
okay?
years ago.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
See, that's why.
See,
That's
that's what I'm saying. He keeps giving us reasons to like.
I'm getting really killy right now,
Yeah,
and I really want to kill
yeah.
him.
I got the
I'm
murder in me.
I want to murder. A little murdery.
Relax. Find your inner bean. Just touch your inner bean.
Okay, yeah, kill him.
Oh my God! I have a button right here next to my inner bean.
Ooh.
Is it the kill button?
He's blowing his own buttons now. That's disgusting.
If you guys really think we should kill him,
I
again,
mean, we
I've
could.
got these two
We could
buttons.
kill him. We
I've
could
got-
send him
Hey,
away.
wait.
Huh?
Wait.
What?
Stop.
What?
Look over there.
I'm reading the other button. It's very
Look
long.
over there.
What? Stop with the butt.
Look at Schmutzy.
Oh, look at the little Schmutzy.
Oh,
It's been so long, little Schmutzy. How you doing, girl?
We should have Schmutzy decide.
Schmutzy,
to
come press the
kill.
button.
Yes. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Just jump
Oh,
over
you're gonna have a
Schmutzy.
kill.
fucking cat
Oh,
decide
yes.
my
Look,
fate.
She doesn't want to
Schmutzy
do
kill.
that.
She's
Is it
not-
she?
No,
He?
cats don't want to do that.
She?
Yeah.
It's 2020.
She.
No, Schmutzy.
Little
Wait, where's she
cutie
going?
Schmutz.
That's so cute with the way they walk away. They're like
God.
tap, 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 with their tail up in the air like
And now
that.
she's up there now. How
I
did she
know.
do that?
Oh wow.
I think
That's
she just found a
no,
portal.
Oh,
You
I was looking for
Yanks
that
love
one.
your
Cool.
fucking cats, I swear to God.
I think she just found a portal.
Nice.
Oh, look at that.
Look
love
at
this
her.
cat.
And now
Kitty
she's
portal.
back over there. What
Whoa.
the hell is that?
She's
I'm going to the
teleporting.
portal.
And now she's back.
I'm gonna hit the portal.
Schmutzy,
I'm doing
which
this.
button?
That's like
Kill?
a cat's dream is to have like a portal
What
with
the
they
hell
got
are
the
you guys
zoomies.
talking about?
Kill or return
Yeah.
to the foreverness of everything in between. Oh, look, she's walking out. So we gotta follow her.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Go sit in the forefront.
All right, Mr. B.
What? Hey,
See you, man.
hello. Can you
look at her.
can you get? Hey, you can at least fill the bean up. I'm getting to be like a dried bean, and the dried beans you gotta let them soak overnight. That's so much
Running
more
away.
convenient. So if you could just at least fill my bean or kill me or something, you're just gonna follow the fucking cat. I mean, just God, these fucking
You see his
idiots.
little toe beans, her little toe beans. They're little toe beans.